Broken things belong in the trash, sweetheart.
Broken things belong in the trash, sweetheart. Victoria Kane's voice cuts through the first-class cabin of Platinum Airways Flight 847 like shattered crystal. Her perfectly manicured fingers grip custom titanium crutches, her designer flight attendant uniform hugging every curve of her statuesque frame. Platinum blonde hair swept into an elegant chignon, she stands in the open aircraft doorway staring down at a young black woman seated in 1A. Just like you. Then she drops them. The crutches tumble end over end, flashing silver in the afternoon sun as they plummet 20 feet down to the concrete tarmac below. The sound when they hit is sharp final. Crack. But Victoria Kane just made the biggest mistake of her career. Because that young woman isn't just anyone. She's Zara Cross, daughter of Diana Cross, the billionaire tech mogul who secretly owns the parent company of this very airline. And in exactly 14 minutes, Victoria's entire world will come crashing down harder than those crutches. Before we dive into this story of justice at 35,000 feet, tell me, where are you watching from? Comment your city below, and if this moment made your blood boil like it did mine, smash that subscribe button. Because what happens next will restore your faith in karma. Now let's rewind and see how one woman's cruelty backfired in the most spectacular way possible. The afternoon sun streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of JFK Airport's Terminal 4. It's 2:47 p.m. on a Thursday, and the first-class check-in area buzzes with the quiet efficiency of luxury travel. Designer luggage rolls across polished floors. Expensive watches catch the light. Credit cards with no limits slide through readers with satisfying clicks. Diana Cross approaches the Platinum Airways counter with measured steps. At 48, she commands attention without demanding it. Her charcoal wool blazer costs more than most people's monthly salary, but she wears it like armor, not decoration. Behind her, moving with careful precision, comes her daughter Zara. 22 years old Zara Cross moves with the grace of someone who has learned to navigate a world not built for her. Cerebral palsy affects her legs, requiring the support of titanium crutches that gleam like modern art. These aren't standard medical equipment. They're masterpieces of engineering, custom-forged lightweight with subtle rose gold accents that catch the light with every step. "Good afternoon, Ms. Cross," the gate agent says, scanning their boarding passes. "First class to London Heathrow. You'll be boarding in about 20 minutes. Sarah Mitchell has worked this counter for 6 years. She's seen celebrities, politicians, billionaires. But something about Diana Cross makes her stand a little straighter. Maybe it's the woman's presence. Maybe it's the way she treats everyone from janitors to CEOs with the same measured respect. "Thank you," Diana replies. "Is there an accessible boarding option for my daughter?" "Of course, we can arrange pre-boarding if..." "That won't be necessary." Zara's voice is soft but firm. "I prefer to board with everyone else." Sarah nods, making a note in the system. What she doesn't know is that she's just documented the beginning of the most expensive customer service failure in aviation history. 20 feet away, Victoria Kane adjusts her uniform in the reflection of a window. At 34, she's the picture of airline elegance. 5'8", with a figure that turns heads and a face that could sell diamonds. Her family owns textile mills across the South. Old money, old values, old prejudices that run deeper than oil wells. She notices the Cross women immediately, not because of Diana's obvious wealth or Zara's crutches, but because of something else, something that makes her jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. "Marcus," she says to the young man beside her. "Look at 1A and 1B. Marcus Rivera, 28, follows her gaze. He's been flying with Victoria for 2 years, and he's learned to read the subtle changes in her voice. This tone means trouble. What about them?" First-class Victoria's laugh is like ice cubes clinking in a glass. "Really," Marcus shifts uncomfortably. Their tickets cleared the system. Tickets can be faked. Victoria's eyes narrow as she watches Zara navigate around a coffee cart. Medical equipment can be exaggerated. Some people will do anything to get special treatment. Victoria, maybe we should what? Let them make a mockery of our cabin standards. Victoria smooths her skirt, checks her lipstick and her phone's camera. I don't think so. This is the moment. The split second where Victoria Kane chooses cruelty over compassion, where her prejudice overrides her professionalism, where she decides that two black women, regardless of their obvious wealth, their valid tickets, their quiet dignity don't belong in her first-class cabin. She doesn't know that Diana Cross owns 61% of Global Sky Holdings Platinum Airways' parent company. She doesn't know that the merger was finalized just 3 weeks ago, kept secret until the quarterly announcements. She doesn't know that she's about to attack the daughter of her ultimate boss. She only knows what her biases tell her, and those biases are about to cost her everything. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now beginning pre-boarding for Platinum Airways Flight 847 to London Heathrow. Sarah's voice echoes through the gate area. Passengers requiring special assistance. Passengers with small children and our Platinum Elite members may board at this time. Diana looks at Zara. Want to pre-board? I'm good, Mom. Let's wait with everyone else. It's a small moment of independence. Zara choosing normalcy over accommodation. But Victoria sees it differently. She sees defiance. She sees someone who doesn't know her place. The first-class passengers gather near the boarding door. A documentary filmmaker heading to a festival in London. A civil rights lawyer returning from a conference in New York. A businessman with more money than morals. Each of them will become a witness to what happens next. None of them know they're about to watch a woman destroy her own life in real time. Victoria positions herself at the aircraft door like a guard at a palace gate. Her smile is perfect, practiced, predatory. She greets the first passengers with theatrical warmth. Welcome aboard Flight 847. So wonderful to have you with us today. But her eyes keep drifting back to Zara, calculating. Planning. The boarding line moves forward. Families with children first. Elite status holders next. Then the masses of economy passengers shuffling toward the back of the plane like cattle to slaughter. Finally, it's time for first class. Diana and Zara approach the podium. Their boarding passes scan with electronic beeps. Green lights flash. Everything in the system says they belong here. Everything except Victoria Kane's warped worldview. Boarding passes, please, she says, even though they've already been scanned. Diana hands them over with a slight frown. Victoria examines them like a detective studying evidence. Interesting, she murmurs. Is there a problem? Diana's voice carries the authority of someone used to having problems solved quickly. Victoria's smile could freeze champagne. We'll see. And with those two words, she starts a war. She has no idea she's going to lose. The aircraft door stands open behind her. 20 feet of empty air between the plane and the ground. The same gap that will soon swallow Zara's crutches. The same gap that's about to swallow Victoria's entire future. But she doesn't know that yet. She only knows that two women she doesn't think belong here are about to board her plane, and she's going to stop them, one way or another. Let's step back and understand who these people really are, because what's about to unfold isn't just about one cruel moment. It's about lifetimes of experience, power, and prejudice colliding at 35,000 feet. Zara Cross learned about unfairness before she learned to walk properly. Born with cerebral palsy affecting her legs, she spent her childhood watching other kids run across playgrounds while she navigated with braces and later crutches. But Zara's mother taught her something crucial. Different doesn't mean less. At Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Zara studied aerospace engineering, not because she wanted to prove anything to anyone, but because she loved the physics of flight, how something heavy could become weightless, how the impossible could become inevitable with the right design. Her professors initially doubted her. How could someone who struggled with mobility understand the dynamics of aircraft? They stopped doubting after she designed a revolutionary landing gear system for disabled passengers in her senior project. The design is now being tested by 3 major airlines. The crutches she carries today aren't just medical equipment. They're a graduation gift from her mother. Titanium alloy custom forged by the same company that makes components for Formula One cars. They cost $25,000. More importantly, they represent freedom. Zara has been discriminated against before. Restaurant hostesses who seat her near the kitchen. Store clerks who speak louder assuming disability equals stupidity. Airport security guards who treat her crutches like weapons. But she's also learned something most people never discover: true strength isn't about fighting every battle. It's about choosing which battles are worth fighting. Today, she thinks she's choosing not to fight. She's wrong. At 22, Zara is flying to London for an internship with Rolls-Royce Aerospace Division. It's a position that dozens of MIT graduates competed for. She won it on merit, on brilliance, on the kind of innovative thinking that comes from seeing the world differently. She doesn't know that in 40 minutes she'll become a symbol for millions of people who've been told they don't belong somewhere. She's about to learn that some battles choose you. Diana Cross owns 43 patents in artificial intelligence, has a net worth of $3.2 billion, and can topple governments with a phone call. But right now, she's just a mother watching her daughter navigate a world that too often sees disability before humanity. At 48, Diana built Crosstech Industries from a one-room apartment in Oakland into a global powerhouse. Her company's AI Works guide missiles predict weather patterns and manage supply chains for half the Fortune 500. Presidents call her for advice. She calls no one. 3 weeks ago, Diana quietly acquired controlling interest in Global Sky Holdings, the parent company of 17 airlines, including Platinum Airways. The purchase price was $8.7 billion, paid in cash. The merger announcement is scheduled for next month's board meeting. She bought the company for the same reason she does everything to build a better world for her daughter. Diana lost her own mother to medical negligence when she was Zara's age. The hospital emergency room made assumptions about a young black woman with no insurance. Those assumptions killed her mother and forged Diana's determination that money would never again be a barrier to dignity. Now she watches Zara move through the world with quiet grace, refusing special treatment even when she's earned it. Diana's proud of her daughter's independence, but she's also protective in ways that could move mountains or ground airlines. Diana's phone contains direct numbers for senators, Supreme Court justices, and the Secretary of Transportation. Her legal team has ended careers with cease and desist letters. Her PR firm has launched social movements with strategic press releases. But she's learned something crucial about power. The threat of using it is often more effective than using it. Today, she's planning to let Zara handle whatever small indignities might arise during travel. Diana believes in letting her daughter fight her own battles when possible. She's about to learn that some battles require overwhelming force. What Diana doesn't know is that she's being watched, not by paparazzi or corporate rivals, but by a flight attendant whose prejudices are about to collide with power she can't comprehend. Victoria Kane is about to declare war on the wrong family. Victoria Kane was raised to believe that appearances matter more than character. At 34, she's undeniably beautiful. Platinum blonde hair that costs $800 every 6 weeks to maintain. A figure honed by personal trainers and enhanced by surgeons. Skin that glows with treatments available only to the wealthy. Her family owns Kane Textiles, a company built on cotton plantations and maintained through generations of inherited wealth. They're old South aristocracy, the kind of people who still talk about heritage and tradition when they mean prejudice and privilege. Victoria wasn't supposed to work. Women in her family were supposed to marry well and manage charity galas. But she chose airline work for the travel, the glamour, the opportunity to see the world from first-class cabins. What she really chose was a position of power over people she considers beneath her. Victoria has been with Platinum Airways for 8 years. She's received 17 formal complaints for poor service, all buried by management, because her family name opens doors and fills seats. She knows which passengers tip well and which ones demand too much. She knows how to be charming to the right people and dismissive to the wrong ones. In her mind, the right people are wealthy white and appropriately grateful for her service. The wrong people are everyone else. She's developed a talent for making discrimination look like policy. Medical equipment as safety hazards. Special accommodations as unfair advantages. Basic human dignity as special treatment that not everyone deserves. Today, looking at Diana and Zara, Victoria sees everything she's been taught to resent. Wealth that wasn't inherited, success that wasn't handed down, dignity that wasn't granted by bloodline. She doesn't know she's looking at her own boss. She doesn't know she's about to commit career suicide in front of cameras that will broadcast her cruelty to millions. She only knows that these two women don't fit her narrow definition of who belongs in first class, and she's about to make sure they know it. Marcus Rivera joined Platinum Airways to see the world. At 28, he sends half his paycheck home to his mother in Phoenix and dreams of saving enough to open his own restaurant. Working with Victoria Kane has been a master class in uncomfortable compromises. He's watched her humiliate passengers who couldn't fight back. He's stayed silent during confrontations he knew were wrong. He tells himself he needs this job, needs the income, needs to keep his head down. Today, Marcus is going to learn that some silences cost more than speaking up. Sarah Mitchell, the gate agent, prides herself on professionalism. At 45, she's seen every type of passenger emergency meltdown and miracle. She believes in treating everyone equally, which makes her excellent at her job and uncomfortable with colleagues who don't share those values. She doesn't know she's about to witness something that will change airline policy forever. James Patterson, seated in 3B, makes documentary films about social justice. At 52, he's recorded police brutality, corporate corruption, and political scandals. His camera is always ready. His instincts are always sharp. He's about to capture footage that will end a career and start a movement. Elena Rodriguez, in seat 2B, is a civil rights lawyer returning from a conference in New York. At 31, she's argued cases before federal courts and won settlements that changed company policies. Her phone is loaded with apps for recording video and instantly uploading to multiple platforms. She's about to become the voice of justice in real time. Captain Robert Hayes, 50 years old, has been flying commercial jets for 23 years without a single safety incident. He believes in the chain of command, following procedures and keeping passengers safe. He's about to learn that some safety threats come from his own crew. Lisa Thompson supervises ground crew at JFK. At 29, she's worked her way up from baggage handling to equipment oversight. She's seen how carelessly some crew members treat passenger belongings, especially medical equipment. She's about to witness the most expensive case of equipment destruction in aviation history. These people don't know each other. They don't know they're about to become connected by one woman's cruelty and another woman's response. They don't know they're about to witness justice delivered at the speed of social media, but they're about to learn that ordinary moments can become extraordinary when someone decides that human dignity isn't negotiable. The stage is set. The characters are in position. The aircraft door stands open, waiting for the moment that will change everything. Victoria Kane adjusts her uniform one final time, checks her reflection in a passenger's phone screen, and prepares to make the biggest mistake of her privileged life. She thinks she's about to put two women in their place. She's actually about to lose her place in the world. The moment Diana and Zara approach the aircraft door, Victoria's demeanor shifts like storm clouds rolling across a clear sky. Boarding passes she demands, even though they've already been scanned twice. Diana hands them over with the patience of someone who's navigated countless microaggressions. Victoria examines them with theatrical scrutiny, holding each pass up to the light, as if checking for counterfeits. These show first class. Her tone suggests this is somehow suspicious. Yes, Zara says quietly. Seats 1A and 1B. Victoria's eyes travel from the boarding passes to Zara's crutches, then back to her face. The calculation is visible predatory. I'm sorry, but I'm going to need to verify these with the gate. We just came from the gate, Diana says, her voice carrying the first hint of steel. They were scanned not 30 seconds ago. Company policy. Victoria's smile could cut glass. We've had issues with upgraded boarding passes that weren't properly processed. I'm sure you understand. She doesn't move aside. The aircraft door remains blocked. Behind them, other first-class passengers are gathering their patience, beginning to wear thin. Marcus Rivera appears at Victoria's shoulder, his expression uncomfortable. Victoria, the system shows I can read the system, Marcus. Her tone silences him immediately. I'm following protocol. James Patterson, documentary filmmaker, notices the tension developing. His instincts, honed by years of capturing injustice, start tingling. He casually pulls out his phone. Is there a problem here? Elena Rodriguez asks from the boarding line. As a civil rights lawyer, she recognizes the setup, the manufactured delay, the public humiliation, the targeting of someone who appears different. Victoria doesn't even look at her, just verifying ticketing irregularities. Nothing to concern other passengers. What irregularities? Diana's voice drops an octave, a warning sign anyone who knows her would recognize. Medical equipment discrepancies. Victoria gestures toward Zara's crutches. These appear to be substantial. Our safety protocols require verification that they meet airline standards. They're titanium crutches, Zara says, her cheeks starting to flush. Custom medical equipment. I've flown with them dozens of times. On this airline, on every major airline. Well, this is Platinum Airways. Victoria's voice drips condescension. We have higher standards. The insult hangs in the air like toxic smoke. Other passengers are now openly staring. Some are pulling out phones. The situation is escalating beyond Victoria's control, but she doesn't realize it yet. Sarah Mitchell arrives from the gate counter, having noticed the delay. Is everything all right here? Just checking some equipment specifications, Victoria says smoothly. These crutches appear to exceed our carry-on dimensional limits. Sarah frowns. Medical equipment is exempt from dimensional restrictions. That's federal law. Federal law also requires that all medical equipment be safe for aircraft operation. Victoria's prepared for this objection. These appear to have metal components that could interfere with navigation systems. That's not Sarah starts, but Victoria cuts her off. Are you questioning my safety assessment? The challenge in Victoria's voice is clear. She's using her seniority, her family connections, her carefully cultivated authority to shut down opposition. Diana watches this exchange with growing fury, but she's also calculating. She's learned that sometimes you have to let people reveal themselves completely before you destroy them. Fine, Diana says quietly. What do you need to verify? Victoria's smile widens. She thinks she's won. I need to examine the crutches for safety compliance. They'll need to be surrendered for inspection. Surrendered? Zara's voice cracks slightly. Temporarily. We'll return them once we've confirmed they meet our specifications. How long will that take? Diana asks. However long it takes. Victoria shrugs. Safety first. Marcus Rivera shifts uncomfortably. He knows this isn't standard procedure. He's watched Victoria target passengers before, but never this openly, never this cruelly. Victoria, he whispers. Maybe we should call the captain. The captain is busy with pre-flight checks. Victoria snaps. This is cabin crew responsibility. Elena Rodriguez steps forward. Excuse me, I'm an attorney. What you're describing isn't legal under the Air Carrier Access Act. Victoria finally turns to face her eyes flashing. And I'm senior cabin crew on this aircraft. Federal aviation regulations supersede disability legislation when safety is concerned. That's not how the law works, ma'am. Please return to your seat. You're interfering with safety procedures. The gauntlet is thrown. Victoria has now challenged a civil rights lawyer, intimidated a gate agent, ignored federal disability law, and publicly humiliated a passenger in front of witnesses. She still thinks she's in control. James Patterson's phone is now recording openly. Other passengers are doing the same. The hashtag Platinum Shame is about to trend, but Victoria doesn't know it yet. "I'll need those crutches now," Victoria says to Zara, extending her perfectly manicured hand. "I need them to walk," Zara replies quietly. "We have a wheelchair available for passengers with mobility challenges." "I don't use a wheelchair." "Yeah. Well, you'll need to for this flight. The crutches are too much of a safety risk." Zara looks at her mother. Diana's face is stone, but her eyes are volcanic. She gives an almost imperceptible nod. "Okay," Zara says softly, and begins to unstrap the crutches from her forearms. This is the moment Marcus Rivera realizes he has to choose between his job and his conscience. "Victoria, this isn't right. Marcus, please escort this passenger to a wheelchair and help her to her seat." "No." The word hangs in the air like a gunshot. Victoria turns to stare at her colleague. "Excuse me, I said no. I won't be part of this. Then you can explain your insubordination to human resources. I'll explain it to whoever wants to listen." Marcus pulls out his own phone and starts recording. "I'm documenting my refusal to participate in disability discrimination." Victoria's perfect composure cracks slightly. She's losing control of her crew, her passengers, and her narrative. But she doubles down the way bullies always do when cornered. "Fine. I'll handle this myself." She reaches for Zara's crutches. The first physical contact is what transforms this from uncomfortable confrontation to assault. The moment Victoria's hands touch the crutches while they're still strapped to Zara's arms, she crosses a line that can't be uncrossed. "Please don't," Zara says. "Safety first." Victoria repeats, pulling harder. Diana Cross has seen enough. "Take your hands off my daughter." Her voice carries the authority of boardrooms where billions are decided, of negotiations where countries' fates hang in balance. It's not loud, but it cuts through the chaos like a blade. Victoria looks up at Diana for the first time, really looks at her. Designer clothes that cost more than Victoria's monthly salary. Jewelry that sparkles with old money elegance. The bearing of someone used to having her orders followed immediately. For a second, Victoria hesitates, but her prejudice overrides her self-preservation instinct. "Ma'am, please don't interfere with safety procedures." "Last warning," Diana says quietly. "Or, what, you'll file a complaint?" Victoria laughs, that harsh sound that reveals her true nature. "Do you know who my family is? Do you know what connections I have?" "Diana?" Cross smiles for the first time since boarding began. It's not a warm smile. "No, but you're about to find out who mine are." Victoria doesn't understand the threat. She's too caught up in her own power trip, too blinded by her own biases, to recognize that she's just declared war on someone infinitely more powerful. She yanks the crutches free from Zara's arms. Zara stumbles, catching herself against the aircraft wall. The small gasp she makes, part surprise, part pain, is captured by 6 different phones now recording the scene. Victoria holds the custom titanium crutches like trophies, her smile triumphant. "These will be returned to you after we verify safety compliance." When Zara asks, leaning heavily against the bulkhead. "When I say so." Those 4 words seal Victoria's fate. They reveal that this isn't about safety policy or procedures. This is about power, about a woman who enjoys humiliating others, about cruelty dressed up as authority. Elena Rodriguez is already typing on her phone. Witnessing disability discrimination on Platinum Air Flight 847. Crew member has seized passengers' medical equipment. Disability rights air travel. The tweet will have 10,000 retweets within an hour. James Patterson continues filming his documentary Instincts in overdrive. This isn't just discrimination, it's performance art. Victoria is reveling in her power, oblivious to the fact that she's destroying her own life. Captain Robert Hayes finally appears from the cockpit, drawn by the commotion. "What's the delay?" he asks Marcus. "Sir, we have a situation with—" "Everything's fine." Captain Victoria interrupts smoothly. "Just a minor equipment verification. We'll be boarding momentarily." Captain Hayes looks around at the passengers filming at Zara, leaning against the wall at the tension thick enough to cut. "Ms. Kane, what exactly federal aviation safety regulations, sir? I'm securing potential hazards." She holds up the crutches as evidence. Captain Hayes frowns. He knows medical equipment procedures, and this doesn't feel right. But he also knows Victoria's family connections and political influence. "Are we following proper documentation protocols?" he asks carefully. "Absolutely, sir. Everything by the book. But there is no book for what Victoria is doing. There's no regulation that allows confiscating medical equipment from passengers who've already been cleared through security. There's no safety protocol that permits humiliating disabled travelers for entertainment. There's only prejudice dressed up in the language of authority." Captain Hayes nods reluctantly and returns to the cockpit, not wanting to deal with the political fallout of challenging Victoria's family connections. His failure to intervene will cost him his job within the week. Victoria turns back to Zara with renewed confidence. "Now then, let's get you seated. Marcus will help you with the wheelchair." "I told you," Marcus says firmly, "I won't participate in this." "Then you're terminated, effective immediately." "Actually," Diana says quietly, "he's not." Victoria spins toward her. "Excuse me, you don't have the authority to terminate crew members during flight operations. That requires captain approval and union notification." For the first time, Victoria realizes she might be dealing with someone who knows airline operations better than she does, but she's too deep in now to back down. "Are you an aviation expert, ma'am?" Diana's smile returns. Among other things, she doesn't elaborate. She doesn't need to. Victoria will learn exactly what other things very shortly. "Well, expert or not, you don't give orders on my aircraft." "Your aircraft." Diana's voice carries amusement now. That's interesting phrasing. Something in her tone makes Victoria's confidence waver slightly, but she pushes forward, driven by the same prejudices that have guided her entire life. "That's right. My aircraft. And these." She holds up the crutches. "These are coming with me." She turns toward the open aircraft door, custom titanium crutches in hand. 6 phones are recording. 17 passengers are watching. Marcus Rivera is documenting everything for employee protection. And Diana Cross is making a mental list of everyone who will be unemployed by dinner time. Victoria approaches the gap between the aircraft and the jet bridge. The ground crew below is preparing for departure. It's a 20-foot drop to the concrete tarmac. She looks back at Zara, then at Diana, then at the gathering crowd of witnesses. And Victoria Kane makes the decision that will end her career, her reputation, and her family's acceptance. She smiles that cruel smile one more time. "Oops," she says, and lets go. The titanium crutches tumble through 20 feet of empty air in slow motion, flashing silver in the afternoon sun like falling stars. The sound when they hit concrete is sharp, final, devastating. Crack. 6 phones capture the moment. 17 passengers witness it. 1 ground crew supervisor films from below. But the impact isn't just physical. It's moral, legal, and about to become financial. The silence that follows lasts exactly 3 heartbeats. Then Zara Crawford makes a sound that breaks everyone who hears it. Not a scream, not a sob. Just a small breathless gasp, the sound of someone who's just watched $25,000 of custom medical equipment shatter on concrete. The sound of someone who's realized how much another person must hate her to destroy something so essential to her daily life. It's the sound that launches a social movement. Did she just Elena Rodriguez, whispers her phone already recording? Oh my God, breathes James Patterson, his documentary filmmaker instincts capturing everything in 4K clarity. Did everyone see that Victoria Kane dusts off her hands like she's just taken out the trash? The satisfaction on her face is visible, nauseating, damning. She turns back to the cabin with a smile that curdles milk. They slipped, she announces to the stunned passengers. Butterfingers. The casual cruelty of it, the obvious lie delivered with such theatrical innocence, breaks something in the watching crowd. Marcus Rivera stares at his colleague in horror. Victoria, what did you just do? I disposed of a safety hazard. She adjusts her uniform with theatrical precision. Now shall we get everyone seated so we can depart on time? Down on the tarmac, Lisa Thompson, ground crew supervisor, stands frozen beside the shattered remains of the Crutches. 29 years old, she's worked aircraft servicing for 8 years. She's seen baggage handlers throw guitars, laptops, and suitcases. But she's never seen cabin crew deliberately destroy a passenger's medical equipment. Her phone is already out filming the wreckage. Titanium pieces scattered across wet concrete, rose gold inlays glinting in broken shards. What were once masterpieces of engineering are now expensive debris. Jesus Christ, she whispers to her video. Flight attendant just threw these out the door. Custom crutches. Had to cost more than my car. She uploads it immediately to TikTok with hashtags. Platinum Airways Disability Discrimination Crutchgate Witnessed. The video will have 2.3 million views by midnight. Back in the cabin, Diana Cross stands motionless. The rage filling her isn't hot, it's absolute zero. In the business world, she's known as the smiling shark. She doesn't scream when angry. She smiles. And when Diana Cross smiles like she's smiling now, companies collapse. But she's also a mother, watching her daughter's dignity being shredded as thoroughly as those crutches. Mom, Zara's voice is small, confused. She's leaning heavily against the aircraft wall, all her weight on her left leg. Mom, what happened? Where are my crutches? Diana's face transforms instantly when she looks at her daughter, soft, protective, loving. But when she turns back to Victoria, the mask returns. You, Diana says quietly, have just made the biggest mistake of your life. Victoria laughs, that harsh barking sound that reveals her true nature. Sit down, lady, or do you want to join your daughter's toys on the tarmac? The insult hangs in the pressurized air like poison gas, calling custom medical equipment toys, calling human dignity disposable. Elena Rodriguez has heard enough. Her fingers fly across her phone screen. Thread. Witnessing horrific disability discrimination on Platinum Air Flight 847. Crew member just threw passengers' custom crutches off the plane. Estimated value, $25K. This is criminal. 112 Disability Rights Air Travel Justice. She tags every disability rights organization she knows, every news outlet in her contacts, every legal advocacy group that fights discrimination cases. The first retweet comes within 17 seconds. James Patterson's documentary training kicks into overdrive. He switches his phone to live stream, speaking quietly to his followers. I'm on Platinum Airways Flight 847, and I'm witnessing something unbelievable. A flight attendant just destroyed a young woman's medical equipment, threw custom crutches off the plane. The cruelty is... it's stunning. I'm going to document everything that happens next. His stream attracts viewers immediately. Comments start flooding in. This can't be real. Sue them into bankruptcy. Get her name. Where is the captain? The comment about the captain is prescient. Where is Captain Robert Hayes? Why isn't he intervening? Marcus Rivera makes a decision that will save his career and restore his dignity. He pulls out his employee phone and starts recording official testimony. This is Marcus Rivera, employee ID 847291, documenting my refusal to participate in disability discrimination. Senior flight attendant Victoria Kane has destroyed a passenger's medical equipment and is preventing boarding based on what appears to be racial and disability bias. I am officially reporting this incident to union representatives and requesting immediate intervention. His video includes Victoria in the background, her cruel smile still visible as she blocks access to the cabin. Victoria finally notices all the phones pointed at her. For the first time, her confidence wavers. "Excuse me, recording is not permitted without crew consent." Actually, Elena Rodriguez says standing up in the boarding line recording is absolutely permitted in public spaces when documenting illegal activity. Which this is. What illegal activity? Victoria's voice rises slightly. Violation of the Air Carrier Access Act. Destruction of medical property. Discrimination based on disability. Should I continue? I don't know what you think you saw. We all saw it. Elena gestures to the crowd of passengers, all with phones out, all recording. You threw medical equipment off this aircraft. You called it toys. You're preventing a disabled passenger from accessing accommodations she's legally entitled to. James Patterson's live stream is gaining viewers exponentially. The viewer count climbs from dozens to hundreds to thousands as people share the link across social platforms. This is going viral, he narrates quietly. Whatever happens next is going to be seen by millions. Down on the tarmac, Lisa Thompson has been joined by 3 other ground crew members. They're all filming the wreckage, all uploading to their social media accounts. "Look at this shit," one of them says to his camera. "Flight attendant threw this down here like garbage. These are somebody's legs, man. This is how they walk. And she just destroyed them." The ground crew perspective. Blue-collar workers who understand the value of equipment, who know what it's like to have your tools damaged by someone who doesn't understand what they mean to you, adds another layer to the social media explosion. Ground crew. Seize begins trending as airport workers across the country share stories of witnessing discrimination from cabin crew. Back on the plane, Victoria is starting to realize she may have miscalculated. But she's too proud, too entitled, too convinced of her own superiority to back down. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announces to the cabin, "we need to board quickly so we can depart on time. Please take your seats immediately." "No," Diana says quietly. It's just one word, but it stops Victoria cold. "Excuse me, I said no. We're not boarding. We're not departing. We're not moving until you explain to my daughter why you destroyed her medical equipment." Victoria's face flushes. "Ma'am, you don't give orders?" "Oh, but I do." Diana's smile widens. "You have no idea who you're talking to." "Do you?" For the first time, genuine uncertainty flickers across Victoria's features. She's starting to sense that Diana Cross might not be the ordinary passenger she assumed. "I don't care who you think you are. You should." Diana's voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries to every corner of the aircraft. "Because in about 30 seconds you're going to care very much." Diana pulls out her phone. Not to record, not to post on social media, not to call a lawyer. She calls the president of Global Sky Holdings. The number connects directly to his personal line, bypassing assistants, secretaries, and gatekeepers. Because Diana Cross doesn't wait for anyone. "Richard." It's Diana. The conversation is brief. 3 sentences. Diana's voice is calm, conversational, devastating. "I'm on one of your planes. Flight 847. Your crew just destroyed my daughter's medical equipment and called her a racial slur." She hangs up. Victoria stands frozen, having heard only Diana's side of the conversation, but something in the woman's tone makes her stomach start to knot. Who? Who did you just call? Diana doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. Because 30 seconds later, every crew member's radio crackles to life simultaneously. Flight 847 crew. This is Corporate Emergency Command. You are to cease all operations immediately and await special instructions. Do not repeat. Do not proceed with departure procedures. Victoria's face drains of color. Corporate Emergency Command only activates for hijackings, terrorist threats, or situations that threaten the company's survival. Marcus Rivera's radio continues. Employee Rivera, you are to document all incidents and maintain passenger safety. All other crew members are suspended pending immediate investigation. The words all other crew members hit Victoria like physical blows. Captain Hayes emerges from the cockpit, his radio in hand, confusion written across his face. What the hell is Corporate Emergency Command doing on my radio? Diana turns to him with that same terrifying smile. Captain Hayes, I'm Diana Cross. I own your airline. The silence that follows is deafening. Victoria's mouth opens and closes like a fish gasping for air. That's not possible, she whispers. Richard didn't tell you about the merger. Diana's voice drips false sympathy. Global Sky Holdings was acquired 3 weeks ago by Crosstech Industries. My company. Your new boss. The realization hits Victoria like a freight train. She's just humiliated the daughter of her ultimate employer. She's destroyed property belonging to a billionaire. She's committed career suicide in front of 17 witnesses and 6 recording devices. James Patterson's live stream explodes with comments. She owns the airline. Oh snap, this is about to be good. Billionaire revenge mode activated. Somebody about to lose everything. Elena Rodriguez continues her legal documentation thread. Update plot twist of the century. The mother of the passenger whose crutches were destroyed just revealed she owns the airline. This went from discrimination lawsuit to corporate destruction. 812. Justice served corporate karma. The tweet gets 50,000 retweets in 10 minutes. Down on the tarmac, emergency vehicles are arriving. Not for a medical crisis or security threat, but because corporate protocols require full documentation when the owner of the company is involved in an incident. Lisa Thompson films the arriving investigators narrating, "Y'all, this is getting real. They got hazmat crew incident commanders, the works." All because some flight attendant thought she could bully the wrong passenger. Her TikTok video gets 800,000 views before she finishes recording it. Back in the aircraft, Victoria Kane realizes her entire world is collapsing in real time. But she's too proud to apologize, too entitled to admit wrongdoing, too convinced of her own superiority to understand that she's fighting a war she's already lost. Instead, she doubles down one final time. I don't care who you are. I followed safety protocols. Those crutches were a hazard, and I disposed of them appropriately. The lie is so obvious, so ridiculous, so thoroughly documented by multiple cameras that it crosses from delusion into self-destruction. Diana Cross looks at this woman, this beautiful, privileged, utterly heartless woman who destroyed her daughter's mobility aids for entertainment, and makes a decision that will echo through the airline industry for decades. Ms. Kane, she says quietly, you're fired. The words "you're fired" hang in the pressurized air like a death sentence. Victoria Kane's perfect composure finally cracks her porcelain features contorting with disbelief. You can't fire me, she sputters. You're just a passenger. You don't have authority. Diana Cross pulls out her phone again, this time putting it on speaker so the entire cabin can hear. She dials a number that connects after one ring. Cross Tech Executive Offices. Diana Cross's line. Jennifer. It's Diana. I need you to pull up employment records for Platinum Airways. Employee Victoria Kane, Senior Flight Attendant. One moment, Ms. Cross. Victoria's face goes from flushed to pale to gray as the implications sink in. Diana Cross has an assistant who answers her calls immediately. Diana Cross has access to employee records. Diana Cross just revealed she wasn't bluffing about owning the airline. Ms. Cross, I have the file. Victoria Kane employee ID PA 47291, hired August 2015, currently assigned to international first-class service. Terminate her employment immediately. Effective this moment. Full forfeiture of benefits, stock options, and pension contributions. Flag her file for cause termination, destruction of passenger property, disability, discrimination, violation of federal transportation law. Understood, Ms. Cross. Termination processed. Security has been notified to escort her from company property. Diana hangs up. The cabin is silent except for the hum of air conditioning and the faint sound of Victoria's breathing becoming rapid and shallow. That's not legal, Victoria whispers. You can't terminate someone without what due process? Diana's voice could freeze helium. You destroyed $25,000 of my daughter's medical equipment in front of 17 witnesses. You called it toys. You violated the Air Carrier Access Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and basic human decency. What due process do you think you're entitled to? James Patterson's live stream has swollen to over 10,000 viewers. His chat is exploding. Karen got owned by a billionaire. This is better than Netflix. Get wrecked. Victoria, justice is served. Elena Rodriguez continues documenting everything her legal training, recognizing the significance of what's happening. Breaking corporate executive just terminated discriminatory employee in real time. This is precedent setting. Companies are watching. This is how you handle bias in your workforce. 1112. Corporate justice, disability, rights accountability. In action. Captain Hayes stands frozen in the cockpit doorway, realizing he just witnessed the fastest termination in aviation history. His radio crackles again. Captain Hayes, this is corporate command. You are relieved of duty pending investigation into your failure to intervene during passenger discrimination incident. Return to company headquarters immediately. The captain's face goes ashen. Victoria isn't the only one losing her job today. Marcus Rivera watches his former colleague's world disintegrate with a mixture of relief and horror. Relief that someone finally stood up to Victoria's cruelty. Horror at how completely her life is being dismantled. But his sympathy evaporates when he remembers Zara leaning against the aircraft wall, unable to walk without the equipment Victoria destroyed for entertainment. Victoria makes one last, desperate attempt to salvage her situation. This is about money, isn't it? You think because you're rich you can destroy people's lives. I think, Diana interrupts quietly, that because you're cruel, you destroy people's dignity. I'm just returning the favor. She turns to address the cabin full of passengers, many still recording, all transfixed by the real-time justice being delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay. My name is Diana Cross, and as of 3 weeks ago, I own 61% of Global Sky Holdings, which includes this airline. What you've witnessed today is unacceptable, and it ends now. The cabin erupts in spontaneous applause. Not polite airline applause, but the kind of genuine appreciation that comes when people see someone powerful use that power to protect someone vulnerable. Diana continues. Ms. Kane's behavior represents everything wrong with how disabled passengers are treated by airlines. The casual cruelty, the manufactured policies, the assumption that people with disabilities are somehow less deserving of respect and accommodation. Victoria tries to speak, but Diana's voice cuts through her protests like a blade. You threw my daughter's crutches off this plane because you thought she didn't belong in first class. Because you looked at a young black woman with a disability and decided she was somehow beneath you. Because you believed your prejudice was more important than her humanity. The words land like physical blows. Victoria's breathing becomes more labored, her perfect makeup starting to smudge as perspiration beads on her forehead. But here's what you didn't know, Ms. Kane. You didn't know that my daughter graduated summa cum laude from MIT with a degree in aerospace engineering. You didn't know that she's flying to London for an internship with Rolls-Royce that dozens of candidates competed for. You didn't know that her senior project is revolutionizing aircraft accessibility design. Zara looks at her mother with surprise and pride. Diana rarely discusses her achievements so publicly. You saw a young black woman with crutches and made assumptions. You saw difference and decided it meant deficiency. You saw medical equipment and chose to see obstacles instead of adaptations. Diana's voice rises slightly, carrying the authority of boardrooms where billion-dollar decisions are made. But most importantly, you saw an opportunity to exercise power over someone you thought couldn't fight back. You chose cruelty because you thought there would be no consequences. Victoria's legs start to shake. The reality of her situation, unemployed, publicly humiliated, facing potential criminal charges, finally penetrates her entitled worldview. Down on the tarmac, more emergency vehicles are arriving. Not because of safety concerns, but because Diana's call triggered corporate protocols that treat any incident involving ownership as a potential crisis. Lisa Thompson films the convoy. Y'all, they got the big bosses coming out now. Black sedans with tinted windows. This flight attendant must have messed with the wrong family. Her running commentary is being watched by nearly 1 million TikTok viewers in real time. Back on the aircraft, Diana delivers the final blow. Security is on their way to escort you off company property, Ms. Kane. You'll receive termination documentation within 24 hours. You'll also receive legal notification of our lawsuit for destruction of property, violation of disability rights, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Victoria's mouth opens and closes soundlessly. The magnitude of her situation, not just fired, but facing civil litigation from a billionaire with unlimited legal resources, finally penetrates her shock. I have connections. My family has influence. You can't just, your family textile business owes my company $14 million in outstanding invoices. Diana's smile returns sharp as broken glass. Would you like me to call those notes due? Because I can end your family's company with the same phone call that ended your career. The threat hangs in the cabin air like smoke from an explosion. Victoria realizes she's not just lost her job, she's potentially destroyed her entire family's livelihood by attacking the wrong person's daughter. Elena Rodriguez adds another thread to her viral Twitter documentation update. Not only did discriminatory flight attendant lose her job, but the billionaire CEO just revealed her family business owes the company millions. This isn't just individual justice. This is generational consequences for prejudice. 1212. Systemic justice power used right. The final tweet in her thread gets retweeted 75,000 times within an hour, shared across LinkedIn by corporate executives as an example of swift accountability, and picked up by major news networks as a breaking story. James Patterson's live stream viewers peak at over 15,000 as word spreads across social media platforms. His documentary filmmaker instincts recognize that he's capturing something unprecedented, the real-time destruction of someone's career and social standing because they chose cruelty over kindness. Marcus Rivera steps forward, addressing Diana directly for the first time. Ms. Cross, I want to apologize. I should have intervened earlier. I should have stopped her before Diana raises a hand to stop him. Mr. Rivera, you ultimately chose correctly. You refused to participate in discrimination and you documented the incident for accountability. That matters. She turns back to Victoria, who stands swaying slightly. Her perfect appearance disheveled, her arrogant confidence completely shattered. Ms. Kane, you have 5 minutes before security arrives. I suggest you use that time to reflect on how your prejudice has cost you everything you valued. Your career, your reputation, your family's financial stability. Diana's voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries to every corner of the cabin. And you did it all for what? The satisfaction of humiliating a young woman whose only crime was being different from you. Victoria Kane, who started this encounter believing she held all the power, now realizes she never had any power at all. Real power belongs to people who use it to lift others up, not tear them down. Real power comes from creating value, not destroying dignity. She staggers toward the aircraft exit as the sound of security boots echoes through the jet bridge. Behind her, she leaves a cabin full of witnesses, multiple viral videos, and a young woman whose dignity remains intact despite Victoria's best efforts to destroy it. Ahead of her lies unemployment legal battles, family disgrace, and the knowledge that millions of people will remember her name as a symbol of prejudice punished. But Diana Cross isn't finished yet. One more thing, Ms. Kane. Victoria turns back one final time, hoping for mercy for some indication that this nightmare might be reversible. My daughter's new crutches will cost $50,000. Top-of-the-line titanium with carbon fiber reinforcement and smart technology integration. You'll be receiving the bill. Victoria Kane exits the aircraft for the last time, escorted by security, her career in ashes and her reputation in ruins. But more importantly, she leaves behind a cabin full of people who've just witnessed what happens when privilege meets power, when cruelty meets consequences, and when someone finally has the resources to fight back against discrimination that usually goes unpunished. The age of accountability has just begun at 35,000 feet, and it's being live-streamed to the world. The security team that escorts Victoria Kane off Flight 847 isn't standard airport security. These are corporate crisis management specialists, the kind of people who handle situations that could cost companies hundreds of millions in lawsuits and reputation damage. Victoria stumbles down the jet bridge between two men in dark suits, her perfect posture finally broken. Behind her, passengers lean out of aircraft windows, many still recording capturing the perp walk of someone whose cruelty has finally met consequences. This is unprecedented, Elena Rodriguez narrates for her social media followers. I've been practicing civil rights law for 8 years, and I've never seen disability discrimination consequences happen this quickly. Usually it takes months of litigation. This took 14 minutes. Her phone buzzes constantly with notifications. The hashtag Crutchgate is trending nationally. Victoria Kane is trending internationally. Diana, reaction is spawning memes faster than the internet can process them. James Patterson's documentary livestream has reached 20,000 concurrent viewers with clips being shared across every social platform. The most shared moment, Diana's calm delivery of "You're fired," followed by Victoria's face draining of color in real time. Down in corporate headquarters, emergency meetings are convening in conference rooms across 3 time zones. The Platinum Airways crisis management team has been activated not for a safety incident, but for what's becoming the fastest-spreading airline discrimination scandal in social media history. Richard Blackwood, CEO of Global Sky Holdings, sits in his corner office watching social media feeds refresh with new posts every few seconds. His assistant keeps updating him on the metrics. "Sir, we're at 2.3 million hashtag mentions in the first hour. CNN is calling for comment. The Department of Transportation is asking for incident reports. And what the Kane family's lawyer is demanding a meeting. Apparently Victoria's father is threatening to pull their textile contracts." Richard laughs bitterly. Does he know his daughter just committed a federal crime on camera? Does he know she attacked Diana Cross's family? The assistant shakes her head. I don't think he understands who he's threatening. Meanwhile, in the first-class cabin of Flight 847, a different kind of transformation is taking place. Other passengers are approaching Zara and Diana no longer as voyeurs to a spectacle, but as witnesses to justice. Miss Cross says, an elderly gentleman from seat 3C, "I want you to know that what your mother did, that took courage. I've seen discrimination like that before. Usually, nothing happens. Usually, people just accept it." A woman from 2D steps forward. I recorded everything. If you need witnesses for legal proceedings, I'll testify. What that woman did was evil. Marcus Rivera coordinates with the ground crew to arrange temporary mobility assistance for Zara, while new crutches are expedited from the manufacturer. But what surprises him most is how the other passengers have transformed from bystanders into allies. This is what accountability looks like, he says to his own phone, recording a statement for employee protection purposes. Ms. Cross didn't just fire one person. She sent a message to every airline employee who thinks they can discriminate without consequences. The message is being received loud and clear across the industry. In airports around the country, airline employees are watching the viral videos during their breaks. Ground crew members are sharing Lisa Thompson's tarmac footage. Gate agents are discussing Elena Rodriguez's legal commentary threads. Did you see what happened to that Platinum Airways flight attendant becomes the conversation topic in crew lounges from Los Angeles to Miami? But the consequences extend far beyond individual awareness. Within 2 hours of Victoria's termination, Platinum Airways announces emergency policy changes. All discrimination complaints will now go directly to executive review. All employees will receive mandatory bias training within 30 days. All incidents involving disabled passengers will be documented and reviewed by legal teams. Other airlines, watching the social media storm and the swift corporate response, begin implementing similar policies preemptively. Nobody wants to be the next company in viral news for disability discrimination. The Federal Aviation Administration opens a formal investigation into airline compliance with disability accommodation laws. The Department of Justice begins reviewing civil rights enforcement in commercial aviation. But while institutions scramble to respond to the crisis, Victoria Kane faces personal consequences that are just beginning to unfold. Her termination from Platinum Airways triggers immediate loss of healthcare benefits, stock options, and pension contributions. Her family's textile company, Kane Industries, receives notice that their $14 million in outstanding invoices with Crosstech Industries are being called for immediate payment. Victoria's father, Thomas Kane III, places an emergency call to his lawyer, then to his banker, then to his business partners. The financial pressure from Crosstech could bankrupt the family company within 60 days. What the hell did Victoria do, he demands over the phone with his attorney. She attacked a disabled passenger, on camera, in front of witnesses, and that passenger's mother owns the airline. The silence on Thomas Kane's end stretches for nearly a minute. How much is this going to cost us? Everything. Unless Victoria publicly apologizes and the family makes substantial charitable contributions to disability rights organizations, Crosstech will likely destroy your business through legal means. Thomas Kane built his wealth on inherited privilege and institutional bias. Now he's learning that prejudice has a price tag, and it's higher than his net worth. Victoria herself is escorted to airport security offices, where federal agents are waiting to interview her about potential violations of disability rights laws. Her union representative arrives but quickly realizes this isn't a case they can defend. "You threw medical equipment off an aircraft," the union rep says bluntly. On camera, after being asked to stop by multiple witnesses. There's no defense for that. Victoria's mugshot, taken during processing for destruction of property charges, will become the most recognizable image of airline discrimination accountability in aviation history. But the consequences aren't limited to the primary participants. Captain Robert Hayes, who failed to intervene when discrimination was happening in his aircraft, finds himself suspended pending investigation. His 23 years of flying experience can't overcome the perception that he allowed passenger abuse under his command. Airport security officials who didn't respond when multiple passengers reported discrimination face disciplinary action. The entire JFK Terminal 4 command structure undergoes emergency review. Even the cleaning crew who would have disposed of the shattered crutches on the tarmac receive additional training on handling damaged medical equipment and documenting incidents. The ripple effects spread through every level of airline operations because Diana Cross's response made it clear that discrimination wouldn't be treated as isolated incidents anymore. They would be treated as institutional failures requiring comprehensive solutions. Social media amplifies every consequence, every policy change, every corporate response. The story develops in real time across platforms. Twitter threads analyze legal implications. TikTok videos explain disability rights laws. LinkedIn posts discuss corporate crisis management. Instagram stories share personal discrimination experiences. Facebook groups organize disability advocacy campaigns. The hashtag Crutchgate becomes more than viral content, it becomes a movement. Disabled travelers share their own stories of airline mistreatment. Airline employees post videos supporting better training and accountability. Advocates organize campaigns for stronger federal enforcement of disability laws. Within 6 hours of Victoria throwing those crutches off the aircraft, the conversation has evolved from one woman's cruelty to a national discussion about how disabled people are treated in commercial aviation. But perhaps the most significant consequence is happening right now in Seat 1A of Flight 847. Zara Crawford, who started this day as a young woman trying to travel quietly to an internship, has become the unintentional face of a movement. Passengers approach her throughout the flight, sharing their own stories of discrimination, expressing gratitude for her dignity under attack, asking how they can support disability rights advocacy. "I never wanted to be famous for this," she tells her mother quietly. "You're not famous for being discriminated against," Diana replies. "You're famous for how you handle discrimination. There's a difference." Zara looks around the cabin at passengers who have transformed from strangers into allies, at crew members who are treating her with newfound respect, at a social media storm that has turned her worst travel experience into a catalyst for change. "What happens now?" she asks. Diana Cross smiles at her daughter, not the terrifying smile she gave Victoria Kane, but the warm smile reserved for the person she loves most in the world. "Now we change everything." The aircraft finally pushes back from the gate 3 hours late, but carrying passengers who have witnessed justice in real time. As Flight 847 climbs toward cruising altitude, the consequences of Victoria Kane's cruelty continue spreading at light speed through social networks, corporate boardrooms, and legislative offices. By the time they reach London, the airline industry will have begun a transformation that started with one woman's decision to destroy medical equipment and accelerated through another woman's decision to fight back with every resource at her disposal. Victoria Kane threw away more than crutches that day. She threw away her career, her reputation, and her family's financial security. But she couldn't throw away Zara's dignity. And she definitely couldn't throw away Diana's determination to ensure this never happens to anyone else. 6 months later, the same JFK Terminal 4, where Victoria Kane destroyed Zara's crutches, has been transformed into something unprecedented in aviation history. Digital displays throughout the departure hall show the new Cross Protocol certification comprehensive guidelines for treating disabled passengers with dignity and respect that have been adopted by airlines worldwide. Zara Cross walks through the terminal again, this time with her new crutches that cost $50,000 and feature titanium construction, carbon fiber reinforcement, and integrated smart technology. The bill was indeed sent to Victoria Kane, who declared bankruptcy 3 months ago when her family's textile business collapsed under Crosstech Industries' legal pressure. But Zara isn't thinking about Victoria Kane anymore. She's thinking about the young boy in a wheelchair she sees being helped by airport staff who have received the new sensitivity training that emerged from that terrible day 6 months ago. The gate agent, a different person than Sarah Mitchell, who was promoted to supervisor of accessibility services, greets Zara with genuine warmth and proper procedures. "Good afternoon, Ms. Cross. Boarding for Flight 1247 to London will begin in 20 minutes. Is there anything specific you need for your comfort during travel? It's not the artificial politeness of customer service training. It's the authentic respect that comes when people understand that accommodation isn't charity, it's equality. Diana Cross approaches the gate carrying briefcases full of documents for the Cross Foundation for Aviation Accessibility, the nonprofit organization she established with a $50 million endowment. The foundation has revolutionized how airlines train staff handle medical equipment and respond to discrimination complaints. Ready for London? Diana asks her daughter. More than ready. Zara's voice carries confidence that wasn't there 6 months ago. I can't wait to see how Rolls-Royce is implementing the new accessibility standards. Her internship, which began as an engineering position, evolved into a consulting role, helping the aerospace industry design aircraft with universal accessibility from the ground up, rather than as afterthoughts. Major manufacturers now compete to hire consultants who understand disability not as limitation, but as innovation catalyst. As they board the aircraft, Zara notices something that makes her pause. The cabin crew member greeting passengers is Marcus Rivera, now promoted to senior flight attendant and trainer for the new anti-discrimination protocols. "Ms. Cross," he says, extending his hand. "It's an honor to serve you again." Marcus's courage in refusing to participate in Victoria's discrimination and his documentation of the incident made him a hero among airline workers fighting for ethical treatment of passengers. His testimony helped create employee protection protocols for crew members who report discrimination. Mr. Rivera Zara replies warmly, "The honor is mine." "How's the training program going?" "We've certified over 15,000 airline employees in the first 6 months. Every major carrier in North America and Europe. The response has been incredible." They walk down the jet bridge, but this time Zara notices changes everywhere. Wider boarding areas, better lighting for people with visual impairments, audio announcements that accommodate hearing difficulties, gate designs that work for wheelchairs, crutches, walkers, and service animals. These aren't expensive modifications. They're thoughtful design changes that make travel better for everyone, while specifically accommodating people with disabilities. The aircraft itself reflects the transformation. 2 rows of first-class seating have been removed to create accessible restrooms large enough for caregivers and wheelchairs. Secure storage areas for mobility equipment ensure no passenger will ever watch their medical devices destroyed again. Most importantly, the crew wears small pins indicating completion of comprehensive disability awareness training, not the superficial customer service training that existed before, but intensive education about disability culture, legal requirements, and the difference between accommodation and condescension. As they settle into their seats, Zara watches other passengers boarding with mobility devices, visual impairments, hearing aids, and service animals. Every interaction between crew and passengers demonstrates the respect that should have always existed but required a crisis to implement. "You know what I think about sometimes," Zara says to her mother as the aircraft pushes back from the gate. "What's that Victoria cane?" Diana raises an eyebrow. "Really? Why?" "Because she could have just been polite. She could have followed actual policies instead of making up discriminatory ones. She could have treated me like a human being, and none of this would have happened." Zara gestures around the transformed aircraft cabin. "She could have had a good career with a family airline business that remained profitable. Instead, her prejudice cost her everything and accidentally created all this positive change." Diana considers her daughter's observation. Victoria Kane's cruelty had indeed backfired spectacularly, not just destroying her own life, but catalyzing improvements that benefit millions of disabled travelers worldwide. Sometimes, Diana says quietly, the worst people accidentally create the best outcomes by revealing how much change is needed. The aircraft reaches cruising altitude, and Zara opens her laptop to review presentations for the London Conference on Universal Aviation Design. She's become an internationally recognized expert on accessibility innovation, speaking at corporate conferences and university symposiums about how accommodating disability drives technological advancement for everyone. Her work has influenced aircraft manufacturers, airport designers, and transportation planners worldwide. The Zara Cross effect describes how designing for the most challenging use cases creates solutions that benefit all users. But perhaps the most meaningful change isn't institutional, it's personal. Zara receives messages constantly from disabled travelers who no longer face discrimination because airline employees remember her story and choose respect over prejudice. Parents of disabled children send photos of their kids traveling with dignity because crew members received training inspired by her experience. Ms. Cross. A passenger from across the aisle approaches nervously. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to thank you." The woman appears to be in her 40s with a guide dog resting beside her seat. "My daughter is blind," she continues, "and before what happened to you, airline staff used to treat her like she was helpless or stupid. They would pet her guide dog, ask inappropriate questions, make assumptions about what she could and couldn't do." Zara listens intently. "Last month we flew to visit her grandmother and it was completely different. The crew was respectful, professional, properly trained. They knew how to interact with her guide dog appropriately. They treated her like any other passenger." The woman's eyes fill with tears. She's 12 years old, and for the first time in her life she enjoyed flying. She felt normal. She felt respected. These are the moments that make everything worthwhile. Not the corporate policy changes or the legal settlements or the viral social media victories, but the knowledge that a 12-year-old girl can travel with dignity because one young woman refused to be diminished by someone else's cruelty. "Thank you for sharing that," Zara replies softly. "Your daughter sounds wonderful." As the passenger returns to her seat, Diana watches her daughter with pride that goes beyond maternal love. Zara has transformed personal trauma into universal benefit, turned discrimination into education, converted cruelty into kindness. The aircraft begins its descent toward London, where Zara will address a conference of aviation executives about the future of accessible travel. Her presentation will lead to new international standards for aircraft design and crew training. But as they approach Heathrow Airport, Zara thinks about Victoria Kane one more time. Victoria lost her job, her reputation, her family's business, and her place in the world. She filed for bankruptcy, moved back with her parents in South Carolina, and now works retail jobs under managers who remember her viral infamy. Her name has become synonymous with workplace discrimination consequences. Human resources departments use her case as an example of how quickly prejudice can destroy careers. Business schools teach her story as a lesson in how personal biases can cause institutional disasters. Yet Zara feels no satisfaction in Victoria's downfall. She feels sadness for someone whose hatred was so deep that she chose to destroy medical equipment rather than show basic human decency. "Do you ever wonder if she learned anything?" Zara asks her mother. "I don't know," Diana replies honestly. "Some people learn from consequences. Others just become bitter about getting caught. I hope she learned something. I hope somewhere in losing everything she figured out that treating people badly isn't worth it." The aircraft touches down smoothly at Heathrow Airport, where accessibility modifications inspired by the Cross Protocol ensure that disabled passengers can navigate international travel with unprecedented ease. As they disembark, Zara and Diana are met by representatives from the Cross Foundation's London office. The organization has grown into a global movement with chapters in 17 countries working to eliminate transportation discrimination. The conference is sold out, one representative reports. Airlines from 6 continents want to implement cross-protocol standards. The economic benefits of accessible design are becoming undeniable. But Zara's greatest pride comes from a different statistic. Discrimination complaints against airlines have dropped by 73% in regions where cross-protocol training has been implemented. Not because disabled people are traveling less, but because they're being treated better. As they walk through Heathrow Airport's barrier-free corridors toward the exit, Zara's phone buzzes with a notification that makes her pause. It's a message from Marcus Rivera, sent from somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean. Just completed a perfect flight with 3 disabled passengers, 2 service animals, and multiple medical devices. Every interaction was respectful and professional. Your story changed everything. Thank you. Zara shows the message to her mother, who smiles that warm smile reserved for moments of genuine pride. You know what the most important thing is? Diana says as they exit the terminal into London's crisp afternoon air. What Victoria Kane tried to make you feel small. Instead, she made you powerful. She tried to diminish your dignity. Instead, she amplified your voice. She tried to destroy your mobility. Instead, she helped you move mountains. They climb into the car that will take them to the conference hotel where Zara will address an audience of aviation executives, government regulators, and disability advocates from around the world. But first, they drive past a small memorial garden that the Cross Foundation established near Heathrow Airport. It honors disabled travelers who faced discrimination before laws and policies existed to protect them. At the center of the garden stands a sculpture, a young woman raising titanium crutches toward the sky like torches of triumph. It's not a monument to victimhood, it's a celebration of resilience, dignity, and the power of refusing to be diminished by someone else's hatred. Engraved on the base are words that have become the motto of the global movement for aviation accessibility: strength in dignity, justice in flight. These words will outlive Victoria Kane's infamy. They'll outlive the viral videos and social media storms. They'll outlive the corporate policy changes and legal settlements. But they'll never outlive the simple truth they represent, that every person deserves to travel with respect, regardless of how they move through the world. And sometimes the people who try hardest to break you end up building you stronger than you ever dreamed possible. 2 years after Victoria Kane threw those crutches off Flight 847, the airline industry has been fundamentally transformed. The cross protocol is now international standard. Discrimination complaints have plummeted. Disabled travelers report unprecedented levels of respect and accommodation. Victoria Kane works at a discount store in rural South Carolina, recognized occasionally by customers who remember her viral infamy. She never apologized publicly, never acknowledged wrongdoing, never seemed to understand that her prejudice destroyed more than just medical equipment. But Zara Cross has built something beautiful from that terrible moment, something that protects millions of travelers, something that proves dignity is stronger than hatred, something that turns one woman's worst day into countless people's better days. And every time a disabled passenger boards an aircraft without fear, every time an airline employee chooses respect over prejudice, every time accommodation is seen as equality rather than charity, Victoria Kane's cruelty is defeated again. That's the most powerful justice of all. Talk about karma at 35,000 feet. Victoria Kane thought she could throw away a young woman's dignity like it was trash, but she ended up throwing away her entire life instead. It just goes to show that you never know who you're messing with, and that true power isn't about bullying people, it's about protecting them. Diana Cross didn't just get revenge. She created a legacy that will protect disabled travelers for generations to come. The Cross Protocol has become the gold standard for airline accessibility, and Zara's story has inspired millions of people to stand up for what's right. What do you think? Did Victoria deserve the lifetime consequences, or was Diana too harsh, and have you ever witnessed discrimination like this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story of instant karma and billionaire justice moved you, please smash that like button and share this video with your friends and family. Your support helps us tell more stories like this one. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story of justice being served. Remember, in a world where cruelty often goes unpunished, it's stories like these that remind us that sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys win. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we explore another incredible story of karma coming full circle. Stay kind, stay strong, and never underestimate the power of treating people with dignity. Because you never know, the person you're kind to today might just change your life tomorrow.